Are you ready to have your minds blown again? One more treat. So this guy named Scoble, and he would say the craziest things in meetings. He would tell me about this new technology or this company or this thing he found, and I would say, what? And I'd leave the meeting and go, what was he talking about? And then 2 years later, he goes, remember that company I told you about? Well, they're now a $100 million company, or they're now the standard for this or that. Robert, come on down. It's great to have Robert Scoble here.
Thank you. Problem with Jeremiah's slides is he way underplayed world models. 6 days ago, Oliver Cameron released Odyssey ML to the world. In the first 3 days, it had more users than ICQ got in 8 weeks in 1996. It's the fastest growing app of all time, and probably very few of you even have heard of it yet. Oliver Cameron started the Cruise autonomous car company. I've interviewed him. I have the only video of him talking about this new app. It's an hour-long interview up on x.com. The reason I can say outrageous things is because Siri was launched in my house. That was the first first consumer app that used AI. The Insta360 camera company was launched in my house. That was the first camera to use AI in the product. Last year, the Matic robot company launched in my house. That was the first robot that used computer vision to clean floors in a very advanced way and make a slam map of the house. I had the first ride in the first Mercedes AI car. I had the first ride in the first Tesla with Elon Musk. I have launched many, many companies in this industry over the last 2 decades. I had a famous blog. I launched TechCrunch. I launched Product Hunt. I launched this industry because I was the only one for a long time covering startups and innovation here in Silicon Valley on a blog. People forget about what I did in the early stage. That led me to write 8 books about decade-long change that's coming to this industry. And world models are about to change robotics and change consumer electronics very deeply. So let's talk a little bit about what a world model is. The reason an autonomous car entrepreneur built a world model is because he understood how to move robots around the world and ingest data and understand that data with AI models that are very low latency and very fast to understand that data. He sold his company to General Motors for $1 billion. But now he's reversing it. He's spitting the data out to a phone. It's a lot of fun. Odyssey AI, by the way, why is it so fast growing and highly addictive? Some of his users are using it 6 hours a day already, and it's not even a week old, right? You're hearing about this company very early. You just talk to it and tell it, I want a fire with a cat going around the fire. And in less than a second, it fills that and starts showing you a cat going around the fire. And then you can change it in any way you want. Anything your mind can come up with, you can talk to the world model and get it to spit out. Highly addictive. But what happens when Apple comes with its glasses in 2 years? You're going to be talking to a world model in those glasses, and it's going to be a new kind of operating system that does everything your human mind can think. Last night I was at GenSpark talking to the founders over there, and I love GenSpark. It's an agentic platform that builds your slide decks, builds all sorts of things, is leading to a new way of working. But when it comes with glasses and a world model, it's going to go next level. The world model also can generate a factory floor, can generate a shopping mall, can generate a home, can generate a Chinese home, a Japanese home, an American home, can generate stairs, I talked to Elon Musk about this. I'm like, how are you going to train your Optimus robot to walk upstairs? Because one of the tasks I want an Optimus robot to have is deliver some pizza to my house, right? Or my friend's house, and my friend lives upstairs. Well, if you think about stairs, there's curved stairs, there's spiral stairs in some places, there's narrow stairs, there's wide stairs, there's stairs with snow, there's stairs with mud, there's stairs with ice, there's stairs with things. How are you going to generate those things to do the reinforcement learning so you can train your robot to go up a variety of different kinds of stairs? He's building a world. He's building the same thing Oliver's building, a real-time world model that spits out video frames. What Oliver's system does, it spits out a frame and predicts another frame, and spits that out, then predicts another frame. Does it very fast, right? Movies are 30 frames a second, right? TV, video, what you're seeing is actually a picture, but picture after picture after picture after picture after picture after picture, and his AI system is predicting those next frames. What is that going to lead to? New kinds of virtual beings. I've already talked to Donald Trump virtually. It's sitting on the chair. Hey, Donald, what's happening? And it sounds like Donald. It looks like Donald. It dances like Donald. Right? And because of the agents that Jeremiah laid out, it does a whole bunch of lookups of the news on the world. Why do you think Elon Musk bought Twitter for $45 billion? It goes out to the world's news in real time. Ingest that into the model so that I can talk to the virtual Donald Trump about what he's actually doing in the White House right now. They're building newscasters, they're building weather people. Stanford University has already done a lot of research with this virtual being idea, having a virtual being walking around the world, sort of like a robot. It just doesn't have a physical form. It could even look like a robot, like an Optimus walking around. And these things are going to be things you're going to talk with, interact with. Last week, I visited a new company called Illusion of Life. They're making digital Disney-style characters, like a Mickey Mouse, that you can talk with and interact with and do it in a human way. And these characters remember you. I talked to the dog 6 months ago. It remembered what I talked with it about 6 months ago when I met it last Saturday again. And it evolves over time. It's a new kind of AI. And that's why I'm bringing up Brayden Levangie. Because this kid, I meet a lot of new entrepreneurs. I have 35,000 people all categorized on X in the AI space. I have 7,400 companies on X. If you're not on X and following my list, you're doing yourself harm because you're not understanding this industry at a deep level. And I find entrepreneurs who are doing bleeding edge things and understand why they matter. And what Brayden is a guy who built a robot when he was 13 years old. He's only 20 years old. And today I watched him work with a group of AI geniuses from a variety of big companies around the valley. And he built his system in 20 minutes, ingested an RFQ from an architectural firm, understood it, built the neighborhood, built the skyscraper, built it so fucking exactly I said, shit, Autodesk is fucked. And then his agentic system, which he calls a cognitive architecture, said, hey, I have a human who wants to see this building. I need to find a 3D rendering system to show the building to the human. It went out and did research with Unity Labs and Unreal Engine and went around the internet looking for a 3D rendering engine, analyzed all of those and said, nah, none of those are good enough. It built its own 3D rendering engine and then showed me the building, all in less than 20 minutes, with AI geniuses watching this all around. Wow. That's why I'm bringing him here to share him with the world. I shared him with my readers just a few days ago with a series of videos, about 2 hours worth of videos where he goes into his technology. So Brayden, why don't you come up here? Tell me a little bit about why because last week when I filmed you, I put in a few prompts into Grok, into OpenAI, Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude. These are companies with hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA cards, billions of dollars of investments, and your system just eviscerated them.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that possible?
Well, this goes all the way back to the origins of the language model era itself. So number one, thank you, Robert, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be able to be here and speak with you all. Just to introduce myself, I've been working in the AI space upwards of 7 years now, and way back when, in the good old days, there was this up-and-coming company called OpenAI, who I helped test this brand new thing they were about to announce to the world called GPT-3. And then back then, this language model era that we're in was not established. It was so new, so alien of a technology that it was something none of us had ever seen before. However, that was the start of this new paradigm of intelligence. And I had the opportunity to have access to these systems well before anyone else. I did a brief stint at MIT's Lincoln Labs, got access, and then the first thing that came to mind was, how can I create something with the system that, 1,000 tokens was almost hard to conceive of with how early these models were, but how can I build something that can actually help me? And that was when, I believe this was a few months before the first paper on RAG was released, that I built a scraper engine with HTML that was able to pull things online and enter them on the internet. That's the first thing I published, and to my knowledge, that was actually the first retrieval augmented generation platform on the market. And so that early days sort of established my presence in building the infrastructure of intelligence, building on the infrastructure of these systems before we had these predispositions and established sort of conceptions on how they were meant to be used. Then a few months later, OpenAI came out with ChatGPT, something that sort of changed the way that people can perceive of and understand how to use AI. But the one thing that I think that really established my position in the space was the focus on building something with true autonomy. I started out building the first RAG platform, but that led to interests in trying to build out something more and more, not just answering questions for you, but actually being able to do things on your behalf, focusing on why, probably Robert was bringing me here, focusing first on how can I apply language models to robotics before we even applied language models to chatbot systems. And so what this is all boiling down to answer your question most eloquently, is the chat paradigm that we have been established in for all of these years is fundamentally flawed if we want to build systems that can take action. We have been building chat systems because they were so effective for the early days of conversational experience. Customer service industry, write me a poem, things that were great at the time because we had no notions of what was to come, what we were to expect of these systems. But however, now that we're entering the era of action, the era of agentic experience, that is us needing to take this next step. But the one thing on why you see so many companies just scratching the surface of autonomy, the one reason why you don't see systems that can go out into the world and automate every single thing for you, is because we are building on the chat paradigm. And that is what I have been building against for the past 7 years. Because my system, what I call the cognitive architecture, is able to take these chat-based transformer systems and build a new infrastructural layer on top of them, one that breaks us out of this user-assisted paradigm. So by reshaping the way that these models are meant to behave, no longer optimizing for just that next chat response and trying to always pull you in. That's why you see Cursor and Claude Code always being so conversational with you. These systems that we're building are meant for action, are meant to become independent. So they're no longer optimized for the human level engagement, for that user engagement. And because of that, that was the first foundational achievement that I created all those years ago. And since then, we've had many, many breakthroughs in our technology because we've been building on a different trajectory than the rest of the space. So the reason why someone as established and someone as impressive as Robert was able to say that this wipes out the competition is because we're building on a different layer than what these large companies can even conceive of. Now that we're entering the action space, we're entering the time where they have the sunk cost fallacy. They've spent so many billions of dollars building these chat models, they're just trying to make it work. And unfortunately, most of the companies like GenSpark and the others, they're stuck with that. But we took it from a different perspective. We built something that is meant to reshape the way these models behave. And that's led to many other fundamental advancements, including something that actually I believe Jeremiah spoke about briefly, which is the learning capabilities, where we have actually created something called the episodic memory layer, a new way that replicates human psychological traits and patterns in learning that can allow our system to actually grow to understand any of these different domains and industries that it works in. Where we're already applying, and I know this is quite long of an intro, but we're already applying these systems to solve critical challenges in architecture and construction. These systems are actually running and automating all of our research and development. Even we're building new systems, including agents that are able to automate the entire IP and patent law process, and many other sectors that are blow me away to this day. But the crazy thing is that we're not just a vertical AI company in this space. We're not spending our days and weeks trialing away and mining away at these systems. Because we built a foundational system that is meant to become fully autonomous and meant to learn in the same ways that humans have, our system can be applied and grow into any of these industries. Because we have taken the first steps to solve the learning paradigm, and because of that, that's how our systems can learn to do anything.
And this is key, and it's Illusion of Life is sort of doing a similar thing. They're growing their AI over time.
Exactly.
They're taking their little virtual being to Burning Man, to investor meetings.
Mm-hmm.
They took it surfing in Hawaii. Why would they take an AI, a camera with an AI in it, to all these things? Because it evolves, it builds its own personality,
Yep.
its own consciousness, its own understanding of the world. And that's what your episodic memory is doing, right? It's learning by doing, and
Exactly.
learning by experiencing the world, right? Am I accurate about that?
Yeah, and so actually a great method of comparison you all could see. Number one, of course, to shout out, Robert posted a few days ago 2 hour-long interviews of me going over my history, my background. Definitely go check those out if you want to learn a little bit more about my work. But what you're saying is actually so critical to this space. So just to take 2 minutes to give you a brief example. We have companies like GenSpark, like Flow with OS, and these systems that are meant to apply and create these agents that are beginning to take some first steps towards autonomy. But the problem is, we're still relying on humans to give these systems the behaviors that they have, to give these systems the tools that they have. Because right now, because most of the companies in this space are stuck in the chat paradigm, we're building off the tools that we have. We're not trying to build new infrastructural layers to then build more autonomous intelligence.
Yeah.
But
if I get an Optimus in my house, it has to have a different personality, or a Neo. It has to have a different personality, different background, a different consciousness than one in your house.
Exactly. And so the key aspect of what we call episodic memory, the example I was getting to, is Meta just a week or 2 ago released a paper on experiential learning, which was actually proven to, correct me if I'm wrong if anyone else has the statistics, but I believe it was 70% more effective than reinforcement learning. Now, the biggest part of that actually excited me when I saw that paper was those were the same first steps I had taken 2022, 2023 to build a system with the Babbage-Curie and Da Vinci models of the GPT-3 era to try and create these first steps towards autonomy, trying to replicate certain behavioral patterns that you can take when learning, when experiencing, trying to understand what could happen, and then judging based on the realities of what actually occurs, and allowing that to sort of back propagate through your past experiences and make new connections that you couldn't make before.
The downside of your system is it sits on top of other LLMs, and it has a little bit extra latency, right?
Yes.
It takes a little bit longer than if I just talk to GenSpark or ChatGPT, which isn't doing this cognitive architecture, this rethinking of what your utterance is into a system and
Exactly.
what's coming out of it, right? And it is a little bit more costly because you're using a few more tokens to do that in the LLM. Is that right?
Yes.
So how do we get what you showed me on my video, which has a much more human pattern to the conversation than a Grok or a ChatGPT, much better understanding of the world? How do we get that into robots? Because, how do we get you into an Optimus and get your latency down so that you can talk to an Optimus or a figure or a humanoid robot and have it answer fast? Because I don't want it to think for 2 minutes while I'm telling it something in my kitchen, right?
Exactly. And this is actually the most exciting thing that I wanted to share, especially once I learned this was relating to the robotics, the physical AI, because number one, this architecture that I'm telling you about actually emerged from a robotics project. He mentioned me building this robotics engine, something that was meant to evolve socially with my family.
And your mom is here too.
Yeah, I brought them. And
this is your first speech, by the way, right?
I've spoken at a few smaller scale events, but I'm happy to have the opportunity here as well.
Yeah.
And so the system that we've built, because we focused on the infrastructure of learning, on the infrastructure of taking action, we're already speaking to companies that are looking to put this into humanoid systems, into other types of robotic automations, where one of our pursuits in the construction industry is actually a company that is going to be utilizing our cognitive architecture in robots that are going to be building more affordable modular homes. And we're also looking to a lot more for generalizable robotic systems. And so the magic of something like the cognitive architecture isn't the fact that we spent years adding in every nook and cranny and every MCP layer that we can find. The magic of it is we built an engine that is meant to build better versions of itself, meant to improve and learn in the industries that we apply.
That's another breakthrough. Your system is learning in real time, all day long, all night long. It's improving itself. It's actually changing the software. You told me that it's now so complex that you can't completely understand the source code underneath it, right?
Exactly, because a system like this has been something that's been in development for the past 7 years, and honestly, I'll be straight, I haven't opened my IDE in 1 or 2 of those. Because now what we have is we have the first organization that I believe is semi-autonomous, where our agents, even as we speak, right now I know we're in the middle of a raise, so our agents back at my place are actually working on the business plans, organizational, the pitches, making the pitches look nicer and things as well. But what I can say is that this is something that has created an entirely new way of work, where honestly, I know we're looking to expand our team in the next few weeks. The people that come on board, I'm going to tell them, you should not feel like you're working. You should be directing. This is actually where this terminology that I came up with is so applicable in this new era of cognitive and autonomous intelligence that I called the creative director, where we're thinking of ways on how humans will be able to work and collaborate with these new types of intelligences in this next era of autonomy. And with systems like mine, we're going to get there a little bit faster than we probably thought. But this is where the differentials that we see in our behavior and autonomous behavior come into light as so important, because we are the ones that provide the vision. We're the ones that provide the guidance, the clarity, the creativity on how we want to push these systems, on how we want to drive them to do better things.
Yeah, I'm working with Brayden on my list. I'm just recording my screen. I'm just talking to his AI about who Jeremiah is. And I have a lot of background on who Jeremiah and I used to work together, right? So I would tell it, hey, Jeremiah and I used to work together at PodTech, and he sees the world this way, and he's a real expert in this way. I'll bring in Reid Hoffman and explain who Reid Hoffman is, because I was on Reid Hoffman's plane back before he started LinkedIn, right? So I can just talk to it and give it a guidance, or give it a form, and have a conversation with it about my lists, and adds a lot of value, and tell it what I wanted to do with those lists, right?
Exactly.
You know, write me a report about what on my AI investor list. What are these people funding? What are they talking about? What are small signals that they all spray into the world on X? And write a report. And your system writes a more human report than GenSpark does, or OpenAI, or Chat, or Gemini, or whatever, because your system is just better at doing it in a human way. I showed that on my video with us, right? That's how we started this second video we did together. I don't know what we're doing on time. We're done? 2 minutes? So, I think we try to set up the future a little bit, set up the rest of the day here, so that you can think about some of these systems that are coming. I can say more outrageous things, like Tesla is going to be the only American company that can compete with the Chinese robotic industry, which is where the real battle is. Oh yeah. Right? And we could go for a couple more hours.
Your Elon discussion could be a TED Talk.
I could go for a while. Please subscribe to my newsletter.
Yes.
Follow my lists.
Yes.
The lists are the valuable thing. If you're not following this industry, you're just hurting yourself. And
I started off the introduction, Robert, saying how what he portends, please suggest you follow closely. Did this presentation bear that out a little bit?
Yeah.
I think so. Let's give Robert and Brayden a hand. I always encourage you, when you get a chance to follow Robert, to do so. Now I have to follow Brayden, and I'm going to be watching where I can buy some stock in the young man too, because so impressive. Thanks for coming out.